I found my husband's journal from before we met. The last entry was his suicide plan scheduled for the day after our blind date. I never believed in fate until I accidentally saved my husband's life by saying yes to a blind date I almost canceled. 7 years ago, I was recovering from a toxic relationship that left me with trust issues and an eating disorder. My roommate had been begging me for weeks to meet her boyfriend's cousin, who is perfect for me, but I kept refusing. Who wants to be someone's charity project? The night before the planned date, I texted her to cancel. My anxiety was through the roof, and the thought of making small talk with a stranger made me physically ill. She called immediately, unusually persistent. Please, just this once. He really needs this right now, even if it goes nowhere. Something in her voice made me agree, though I limited it to coffee instead of dinner. When I arrived at the cuspide, I spotted him immediately. Tan, tall, with kind eyes that didn't quite match his forced smile. He was handsome in an unconventional way, but what struck me most was how his hands trembled slightly as he held his cup. Our conversation started awkwardly but soon flowed naturally. He was intelligent, funny, and asked questions that showed he was actually listening to my answers. For the first time in months, I forgot to count calories or worry about how I looked while eating. Coffee turned into a walk, then dinner, then dessert. By the end of the night, I felt something I hadn't in years. For genuine connection, we married 3 years later. Last month, while packing for a move to a new house, I found a leather journal tucked inside a box of his old college textbooks. Look, earring. It was just notes. I opened it. The journal entries detailed his battle with depression after losing his job and apartment in the same week. The final entry was dated the day before our blind date, a meticulously planned suicide note with instructions for his family. The last line read, "If tomorrow's blind date is another disaster like everything else in my life lately, at least I tried one last time to connect with someone." After that, I'm done fighting. When I confronted him, tears streaming down my face, he held me tightly and whispered that coffee shop was supposed to be my last stop. I had everything planned for that night, but then you laughed at my terrible joke about quantum physics, and I thought maybe I should stick around one more day to hear that laugh again. He never went back to that dark place. I never knew that while I was worried about calorie counts and making conversation, I was actually saving someone's life just by showing up. Sometimes the universe puts people in exactly the right place at exactly the right time. My husband was supposed to save himself from a bad day. Instead, we saved each other's lives. We'd been together for 7 years now. The journal sits in our bedside drawer, not as a painful reminder, but as evidence that sometimes the simple act of showing up can change everything. If you're struggling right now, please hold on. Your blind date with hope might be just around the corner.